Welcome to another Black Hat message with me, Solarah. I hope you guys are doing well today. I am recording this message on Monday, May the 6th, the day after the 5-5 portal. Okay, so before I get into the message, I have a few things I want to share with you today. But before I get into it, I want to take a moment to welcome you all. Welcome to my returning subscribers, listeners, and viewers. Welcome if you're visiting for the first time. I'm going to put my disclaimer out there so we all know where I stand before you stay any farther and listen on to this message. I am a high believer in divine alignment, and I also believe that we are at a point in this ascension where it is really important that we are lining up with beings who we are a frequential match for. And you know that you are matching frequency with somebody, something, or anything when you feel emotionally balanced in their presence. Now, that doesn't mean every time we feel challenged in someone's energy that we have to walk away. We must know ourselves. But some of the time when we're feeling resistance, when we don't like a person, even if we like the message, which is fine, I don't take that personally. You are more than entitled not to like me. I am not here for everyone, and I know this about myself. So when we don't like a person, even if the message is in alignment, that resistance that comes up within our own souls can be indicative of the fact that they are not a frequential match for us. That doesn't make them bad and us good, etc. All of that duality consciousness bullshit of the matrix. It just means that we don't complement one another's energy, and as such, we cannot maximize the potential of divine activations that take us back into our true cosmological identity and blueprint, which is the point of ascension. Right now, we are learning, and we have been learning by way of a lot of hardship, how to no longer enter into karmic cycles. And a karmic cycle, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, it is something that we enter into because we are going against what is right for our soul, what is optimal for our soul. And it's a very special internal energy mechanism that our souls have that show us that we're out of alignment, because believe it or not, we were not sent here to suffer. So every time we move away from our soul's purpose, every time we move away from source truth, every time we move away from our divine truth and our cosmological blueprint, we open our own doors to suffering. And we can open those doors in the most benign ways, settings, beings, situations, simply because they're not right for us. So it's really important right now for everyone to get in where they fit in and to raise the vibration within the context of being in alignment with other folk. So if you don't like me, that's fine. If I irk your soul, I apologize. But feel free to keep it moving and find your people who are here to help you to completely be activated and rise. And I wish you the best, and I send you love, because the whole point is that we all find the people, the places, the situations that further harmonize our own truth, harmonize our own energy fields, so that we can in turn reharmonize the earth planes. Okay, so this is so much bigger than silly personal vendettas and ego trips and all this other shit. It's really a point of alignment in order that we all come back into producing harmony onto the earth planes. Okay, so that's what I have to say as my disclaimer. Let's get into some of the messages. So I was cleaning earlier on. I was mopping, and it's very interesting. Sometimes when you're doing something mindlessly but repetitively is when the flow of a message is going to start to come through. And I heard very specifically, let them underestimate you. Let them underestimate you. So many of you who hang out with me here on this channel or on my Substack or on my other channels are beings who have been underestimated, especially in this lifetime. And those of you who have been underestimated the most oftentimes are the ones who hold the most mastery. So they really need it in the false matrix system to keep you in this narrative of really being very down on yourself and not being able to connect with your power because of the detriment your your entering into your power brings upon their false systems. And so as the false matrix continues to fall away and die, there are beings who are still clinging very tightly to this old world and its energies. And those are the ones who are still walking around trying to be, live karmic existences, meaning live existences that open themselves and others up to suffering. Okay, and those are the beings who don't have established value systems that are in alignment with cosmological truth. They are still aligned with the faux value systems of the false matrix. And as such, when they look at you, they don't see your worth and your value because they are completely devoid of the understanding it takes to see someone's true value and worth beyond what the matrix has told them has a high price tag. And so let them underestimate you, because that means that they won't bother you as you get ready for what's coming forward next. Now, I want to also shine some light on the cycles that are occurring right now. And that is that all energy occurs cyclically. But everything is a cycle. Everything occurs within a cyclical fashion, whether that is a karmic cycle or a dharmic cycle. That is how energies are function. So as sovereign beings, we have always had the choice as to whether we were going to choose to enter into karmic cycles, exit them, go into dharmic cycles, exit them. We've always had that ability. However, we were tuned out of the knowledge and the wisdom that helped us to recognize and wield our power as such, so that we could consciously move in directions that create more dharma. So in other words, we were connected to a lot of external programming through the false matrix's systems, institutions, including socialization, friendship, family, work, education system, churches, community, media. Everything was a very concerted attempt and effort to keep us programmed and out of this knowledge and wisdom that we have this ability and this gift to go wherever we want to go in accordance with our own thoughts and feelings. This is how we drive our own vehicles, our own light bodies. It's how we move through energy. We move through energy by jumping into different cycles, by using our thoughts and our feelings then to direct the motion of the energy. Okay, so many of you who are listening to me are what we would call masters. Okay, so for me, I read people's tarot astrology. I read their birth charts to unlock to them their cosmological truth, who they are divinely, and what it is they're here to do at this time, right? So I do that through tarot astrology. And so many of you here are masters and you're gatekeepers. And one way I know how to pick that up when I'm there are many ways that I can see it, but one very obvious way and an easy way that you can check on your own chart for is if you hold 11 and 22 degree marks in your chart. Okay, so also to some extent 19, but let's focus on the master degrees of a chart and what it means to me. Okay, so the 11 degree energy is that of a master who holds the keys to gates. You're a star gate keeper. Okay, so as such, those of you with 11 degree energy, and some of you will have quite a bit of it in your charts, those of you with 11 degree energy, depending on what the placement is, the planet, etc., you are very connected to our ability to reconnect to the stargates that were shut down purposely by the false matrix in order to keep us stuck and unable to connect to our divine resources, our purposes, and to interconnect with all the cosmological wisdom that we need to stream through our realities to be quote unquote supernatural on earth. That's bullshit. There's no such thing as anyone being supernatural. It's just who you are. The matrix loves to come up with all of these language and words to create barriers and densities within us so that we think that something is impossible or far reaching when really it's our birthright. that is bullshit. Okay, so this message is also coming through because I want to speak about the cycle we're in. Whenever we enter into Taurus season, we are dealing with the establishing of new contracts on the earth planes. Okay, so the Aries energy opens the new zodiac year, and it helps us to get our minds right and in order for the new contracts that want to come in through Taurus. Now, Taurus and Scorpio are sister signs, and they work together to accomplish a very, they work together to accomplish a macro, they work together to accomplish why can't I think of words right now? They work together to accomplish a very specific assignment within the cyclical phases of the cosmos and how they're expressed here on the earth planes, okay? And then they work together, and then they work individually for certain reasons too. And then they work together with other signs in different ways. Like, for example, Scorpio is very connected to Virgo energy, right? But to get back to that Taurus-Scorpio axis, we are now in the second decan. We're closing out the second decan of Taurus, the sun being in Taurus, if we're going by, tropical astrology. And even if you go by true sky astrology, I could still pull out exactly how this is happening in the same way in those charts too. And that's a whole other story. But the Aries Taurus energy right now is very, very loud for a very, very specific purpose. It's because Aries and Taurus are the two signs of the zodiac that help us to establish the mindsets we need to bring in the new contracts that are necessary for us to flourish, right? So the Taurus, the sun being in Taurus, it's the first time it's entered Taurus since the nodal shift out of Taurus and Scorpio and into Aries and Libra. And as such, what was accomplished while the North Node was in Taurus and the South Node was in Scorpio for those, about 19 months is really coming through very strongly now. And it is for this reason also that last Scorpio season opened the door again to a lot of upgrades, activations, and as such, attacks. So if you've been rolling with me for a while, you will know that Scorpio season, for me, the way I like to look at it, the way I've been shown it, is that Scorpio season is like one of the high spiritual black market openings in the false matrix calendar, meaning it is one of the pivotal seasons where they begin to cash in on our energy. And there's a whole bunch of ways that is accomplished. If I remember, I will link the article I wrote about this in Scorpio season on my Substack, and I will open it up for everyone to be able to access, because it's an important thing to understand and overstand that energy is cyclical, and what happens every single year within the context of when the sun is moving through a sign, there will always be very, very similar patterns and themes. So for example, if I go back to Taurus season last year, or you go back to my Taurus season catalog from last year, a lot of the readings that I read that I did last year are going to activate you stronger into your truth right now, meaning that it's going to bring more confirmation of what it is you're going through right now. Okay, for some of you who weren't with me back then, it's going to appeal to you more. But for some of you who are going through, who were with me last Taurus season, if you go back and you listen to those videos again, what I was saying back then is going to make even deeper sense, because every year we have the ability to either cement an energy deeper into the cycle that we're choosing based upon what the energy is opening us up to, or we have the ability to alter ourselves and the energy based upon what we know that that energy opens us up to. So let's talk about what Taurus opens us up to. Taurus is the energy that establishes your divine net worth. This is why through Scorpio season, they like to take that and barter with it when you don't know who you are, when you're open to the energy harvesting tactics of the matrix, because you're still plugged into all of their programs. And I'm not only talking about the external ones, but most importantly, the internal programming that they did to devalue you and to lower your consciousness and to therefore have you thinking and believing things about you that weren't true, that then gave them access to the ability to shut you down. Okay, so that's a whole other thing that I've spoken about a lot in other videos. I won't get too deep into it today, but your divine net worth is established through Taurus and through Scorpio. It's their trading season of that. So whatever you had to battle in Scorpio season was really important for establishing the new contracts that are coming forth for you through this Taurus season. So for many of you, there was a huge ass fucking battle that began in Scorpio season, and you've been playing it out over the past couple of months, attacks like you've never experienced. And yet at the same time, because of your wisdom, your knowledge, your knowing how to move in energy, clear, cleanse, affirm, and to do what you have to do in order to use the energy to rise and use the attacks as activations instead of deactivations, because you know how to do that. If this is your message, then the contracts that are opening are commensurate to the amount of crap you had to go through, the amount of densities you had to collapse within yourself. Because understand and overstand that no matter what attack is sent your way, it's only hitting on densities that exist within your energy field anyway that need to be cleared. So in other words, if somebody sends you an attack and the energy or the density that doesn't match the attack does not exist within your field anymore, that energy ricochets directly back to them. And that's exactly the point, okay? Because Taurus energy also is here for us to reestablish our true electromagnetic settings. Taurus is the sign of the zodiac that puts us in full control of our own biofields, which is why through Scorpio, the false matrix likes to connect to that energy and trade it cosmologically to keep us stuck. Taurus energy gives us full connection to all the resources we've been afforded in accordance with who we are, the soul lessons we've accrued, and the frequency we carry cosmologically. Why is this important? This is so important because many of us have been cycling through lessons that we graduated from not even way before the false matrix began. Okay, so what that means is that some of us have such a high level of consciousness because we've been here so long. It's not we're better than anything. Every soul, every life form has the ability to rise and ascend their consciousness through these soul lessons. And many of the beings that are returning to the planet, the masters that had to be here to usher back the foundational energies that are allowing for the false matrix to die, we are the beings who have suffered the most on this planet, because whenever you live below your divine truth and your soul's purpose, in other words, whenever you are repeating lessons you've already graduated from, you open the door to suffering. And many of you chose to come here knowing that you'd have to live within the context of a frequency where you had long surpassed the lessons that would keep you bound to it, and you knew you'd have to take on the suffering, but that was the price you were willing to pay, because at the end of the day, you also knew that you would remember who you are and you would rise out of that frequential mess, and in doing so, you would set the grids aflame. You would set the grids of the false matrix aflame, and you would light up the new earth grids, the true earth grids that are connected to your higher soul consciousness based upon who you are in the cosmos. Now, this is really important because you've been underestimated your whole life because you couldn't hack it in the matrix because you weren't supposed to. You were not supposed to be liked. You were not supposed to be embraced by the false matrix and all of her cronies. You were supposed to be shunned, betrayed, abused, ridiculed. You were supposed to be as part of your contract in order to push you back into the truth of who you are. We can wake up karmically and we can wake up dharmically. And because of the level of consciousness that the earth had dipped into, we had to make the choice to come here and to wake ourselves back up into the truth of who we are cosmologically through karmic lessons. I hope I'm making sense here. It means that many of you are so high frequency that just by entering the earth, you open yourself to profound suffering because you vibe too high on a natural level. And you chose that because it was imperative that your caliber of energy be rooted on the earth and be flowing through a physical body at this time. So let them underestimate you right now, because the beings who underestimate you when you're that kind of a being have no real context. They have no real value system. They have sold out their solar energy time and time again to the fool's gold of the false matrix. And they laugh at you. They laughed at you and they ridiculed you. But the tables are turning, as I was writing on my Substack Weekend Alchemy yesterday. It's up on my other channel, Daily Alchemy with Solarah. The Weekend Alchemy message is there in audio form. If I remember, I'll post it below also. So this is what you need to know about also what's happening right now for many of you. You are tuning into high frequency or high caliber information about yourself in the matrix that not everyone will get, which is why you're also being underestimated. So you are tuning into high frequency or high caliber information about yourself in the matrix that not everyone will get. And not everyone will get it because it's not for them to get. It's not for them to get because they haven't reached a level frequentially where they can understand that information, because they have not passed the requisite soul lessons to be able to access that. Everything works in frequency. It's a frequency game. So that means that anyone can come and listen to what I'm hearing right now. And some of you are going to be like, wow, you just gave me the keys to my freedom and my liberation and to go higher, right? And then some beings are going to come in and be like, oh my gosh, she's talking shit. And that's fine. And and both answers would be right. Both answers would be right. You know why? Because the one who thinks that I'm talking shit is because the message is not for them, because they have not reached the level of consciousness where they're able to accept the frequency I'm giving out. And that's fine. That's actually a protective mechanism. So it's actually a beautiful thing to be misunderstood or underestimated, because it's just a sign that a being is not able to assimilate the caliber of frequency or information that you've been sent to transmit to them. And that doesn't only happen with words, it happens with just being in the company of people. So be aware of this, right? So even those who profess to be on a similar path or quest as you might not get this information, might not get you, might not vibe with you. And many will be falling off spiritual bandwagons because it's time to find the way home completely. I'm going to say that again. Many will now be falling off of spiritual bandwagons. It's time to find our way back home completely. It's time to fully access the wholeness of our divine net worth. In other words, it's time to stop riding other people's coattails. There's a time for that. There's a time where we need external guidance. There's a time where we need another person's energy to usher us into the next cycle. There's nothing inherently bad about that, right? It's not energy harvesting if it's mutual, consensual, consciously done. There's nothing wrong with that. But then there's also a time where we must, in order to realign with our cosmological blueprint, we must find our own unique way back home through information that is only locked within the chambers of our own souls. No other being has access to them but you and Source. Other beings can help to guide you, can unlock you into deeper wisdom, but ultimately the deepest wisdom and guidance that you're going to get, even through that, is going to be from you. So in other words, you could come to me and I can do your full tarot astrology and I can activate the fuck out of you. And it's my pleasure to do so. But at the end of the day, I'm opening information that I've been given access to, but it's not going to be the wholeness of everything that you have, because I am not your key holder. I have the keys to certain doors, but I don't have the keys to every single room. And it's designed that way on purpose, because you are the sole owner and proprietor of your energy field, as it should be. Now, many are going to be drawn, and many will be more drawn and magnetized to you and your energy. So another really interesting thing you need to know about Taurus season is whenever you're dealing with the sun in a sign, you are also dealing with the shadow energies of that sign and the shadow energies of the sister sign. That's how I like to see it, which is why, for example, the full moon in any sign is going to be its sister energy. So we just had the full moon in Scorpio. So you must know that during Taurus season, people's shadows are flying. Now they're flying in a very different way from Scorpio season, but they're there. And the main shadow energy of Taurus season will always be attempts to get beings to shut up. Whether it's to silence their voice, silence their truth, or overwrite their voice, or to get other beings on the same bandwagon as you by minimizing their own sense of autonomy and authority over what they think, over what they feel, and over what they express. I hope that makes sense. So the Taurus energy, Taurus is over the throat chakra in your chakra system, in the old 7 chakra system. That's what Taurus was over. The throat chakra is the 5th chakra. It's what gives you entry to the 5th dimension. In order to enter the 5D, you must come back into alignment with living your truth. You must come back into alignment with living your true divine blueprint. You must start to live truthfully and authentically and in accordance with who you actually are. You must disable the old false matrix programs that had you devaluing yourself and living below that truth. The 5D is entered through truth, through authenticity, and it's through the truth that reconnects you to who you are and therefore takes you higher. Okay, so the 5D is very interconnected to the throat, and it's where you begin to access your divine blueprint. Okay, and because Taurus is the sign that also connects you not only to your divine blueprint, but because of that to your divine net worth, the false matrix programs that are still running through people that are still pledging allegiance to that shit are working very strongly through them to try to silence you and to bring you back down into modes of thinking, doing, feeling, expressing that actually go against your truth. And this can be very obvious, but it can also be very subtle. Remember that a being doesn't have to drag you into something that's out of alignment with your truth through always maliciously. Sometimes it's, doing something that appears to be benefic or benevolent, but it's not right for you. And in doing that, in it not being right for you, you are is a form of self-betrayal, which then your soul's natural mechanism is, well, this isn't for us. So you know this, I'm going to administer a little bit of pain, just enough so you back off and you go back into the bounds of where you belong. So when I say that, do you see how everything in the false matrix system has been about putting everything and everyone where they don't belong frequentially to create this huge fucking mess that supported their grids, that supported the feeding of their grids with our fear, guilt, and shame? Because we're not supposed to be, you're not supposed to be all mixed up with other frequencies. That's not how it's supposed to be. A frequency is established. The higher you're able to go frequentially speaking is based upon your ability to pass certain soul lessons that make you, that put you further in tune with the wholeness of oneness. In other words, the more you're able to connect with your own value, the more you're able to connect with the value of everything that exists. And that's the most important thing that a soul must accrue. That's the true value system. That's what gives you more frequential height. That's what gives you more cosmological wealth. And the Matrix distorted all of this to create their false money systems that allowed beings who were very low consciousness beings to be able to usurp the paths of other beings on all manner of frequencies that if everything were in alignment, they wouldn't even be able to go around them. I hope I'm making sense. No, I know I'm making sense to who needs this today. So I've been talking a lot in my Substack. For those of you who are over there, I've been writing a lot over there about how this Taurus season, we are really getting our Aries and Taurus season, I should say, right? Through the Aries and Taurus energy, we are getting our true electromagnetic settings back. And Mars moving into Aries and Venus in Taurus, they're working together right now to assure that we are able to plug ourselves back in to producing beauty, producing harmony, and that we're protected in that assignment. So I wrote about this in last weekend's Weekend Alchemy, and that's again on my other channel, Daily Alchemy with Solarah, where I wrote about how Mars entering into Aries is giving us back a certain level of the defense mechanisms that cause our electromagnetic systems to just naturally reject that which isn't a frequential match and call in what it is that brings us into higher levels of harmony so we can go higher. The Matrix had us program ourselves into being open to anything crossing our borders, while they did the opposite and started to put borders on everything materially. Right? So I'm not going to get into that right now and how it actually matches up to your energy body also, the way they divvied out the borders and caused so much conflict in countries and global distress, but it's all interconnected. So the Matrix calls you to open your own borders through self-betrayal, the self-betrayal decisions I made by adhering to programs that go against our soul's purpose. And so now, as you clear, as you cleanse, as you come back into your divine truth, as you take back the true settings of your throat chakra, as you get back your divine net worth, as you call your own energy and electromagnetism back under your authority, under your Aries energy, then you are naturally now rising back into your rightful place where your electromagnetic settings are so aligned and in accordance with who you are cosmologically based upon the soul lessons you have accrued from the beginning of time, and therefore gives you frequential access to places that not everyone has access to, right? So now as you own that, you become that. And your electromagnetic field is therefore going to repel stronger and reject energies that seek to trespass. And the way you might see that is that beings are going to be very drawn to you, because who would not be drawn to that high caliber energy, that high frequency energy? They're going to be drawn but repulsed at the same time. And for those, my friends out there who carry high Scorpio energy, I see you. This has been your reality in life, because when you deal with heavy Scorpio energy, that's what it naturally does. Also, people are very magnetized to us. I have high Scorpio energy also. People are very magnetized to us. And then the minute they get too close, they turn on us because we light up the shadow. We light up their greatness too. That's the Scorpio energy. The Scorpio energy lights shows us how beautiful and great we are, but it also shows us where our shortcomings are. It shows us our shadow. So beings are very drawn to that part of us that will magnify their beauty. They love that. But the minute they're challenged to go energetically higher and increase that sense of beauty within themselves, right? Which requires dealing with deep shadow energies to access a higher level of their beautiful truth. The minute your energy triggers them to go higher, a lot of the time they make you the enemy, they make you the issue, when really you're giving them an invitation to go deeper, because that's the gift of Scorpio. Well, this is what's happening. This is how the Scorpio-Taurus axis is assisting us right now. And so many of you will experience it that way, even if you don't have high Scorpio energy, just based upon the fact that you are getting back your high caliber frequency, wisdom, information, and connection with the cosmos. And that is going to attract beings towards you, right? But it's also going to repulse them, because it's time for everything and everyone to find their place frequentially. And so there are beings who have become so used to being where they're not supposed to be that they will try to push their way into your energy. And when you put a barrier or a boundary up, you know that these beings are out of their bounds, because they get mad or they try to smear you in some way, you know. And these are all signs, okay, that you are actually reestablishing your electromagnetic, dominance over self again. Authority is a better word, over self again. So let them underestimate you, because what beings don't realize is that the whole energetic reality of the earth has flipped. In other words, the earth will no longer support deception. Okay, so if beings want to believe that you're something in order to make them feel a certain way so they can stay trapped in self-deception, the lessons of suffering they're opening to their souls right about now, it's even greater and deeper and more magnified. And that's because the energy of the earth will no longer support the lie. Okay, as we rise. So you will light up paths for some and help them to burn down the barriers that are meant to limit them. So you will light up paths for some and help them to burn down the barriers that were meant to limit them. So beings who are in a different frequency than you, who are here to have different soul lessons activated on their journey because of who you are and what it is you've been through because of your soul lessons, when they come into your energy, you will provide a light for them to be able to burn down the densities that have kept them thus far from graduating that soul lesson. And if they're wise and if they get how energy works, that then they will see you as such, and they will utilize the power of the value you give them to do that, right? But then there will be beings who, when you light them up, they will be resentful towards you, and they'll try to take the fire you've given them to light up their path to burn you down. And once upon a time that would have worked, but not anymore. Not any fucking more. Others are too afraid to go where you go, but still want to hold on to your coattails. So like I was saying before, this is, we're moving into this time of there's no more riding on some beings' coattails. You can't ride on, when you have reclaimed a certain amount of your frequency back that has been lost to the shenanigans and fuckery of the matrix, nothing and nobody can ride. They can try to connect to your coattails. And every time they do that, they're actually bringing in more tower moments, more karma, karmic lessons by suffering for themselves, because by now they are so out of bounds because of where you've climbed frequentially. And these ones will block their own way forward by seeking to travel frequentially where they are not yet equipped to go. So every time beings now try to go frequentially where they're not supposed to, when you're standing in your authority and you're getting back your divine frequency back, when they try to go with you where they no longer belong, because understand and overstand, many of these beings were going into places they didn't belong to get access to your gold, to get access to your divine net worth, to materialize it through the sacrifice systems, the ritual offerings, the societies, the orders, the covens, and all of that fuck shit. They were attaching to you very specifically to do that because you had access to certain things that they could materialize and monetize, especially by way of the spiritual black market. But when they try to do that now, as you rise and you hold your higher frequency, they can no longer enter. They can no longer hold on to your coattails, and they block their own way forward because they're so far out of proper divine alignment, and not even because they're trying to trespass into your fields, but because the fact that they're trespassing frequently where they don't belong shows that they are actually not doing anything but cheating their own soul's ability to properly rise. And as such, that they open their own doors to suffering. Okay, so there's no more codependent clingers who are claiming to be energetically sovereign, but their true frequency doesn't match what they say. Okay, I'm going to say that again. I'm sorry. I'm reading and I didn't say that right. So there will be no more codependent clingers who are claiming to be energetically sovereign, but their true frequency doesn't actually match what they say. So in the false matrix supported deception. The true matrix grids that are being resurrected and have been resurrected, and over the weekend actually were lit up. The lights were put on onto the new earth grids over the weekend. That was another download that came through. So a few weeks ago, the lights on the false matrix were put out and the new earth lights were put on. So there's been a shift of house, you could say, through the Taurus season. The false matrix needed deception, and the false matrix constantly drew us into deception to keep its agendas alive, and it needed us to be codependent and believing that we needed something outside of ourselves in order to survive. And the truth is, there's actually, when you are in proper divine alignment with your truth, there's nothing you need outside of yourself in order to thrive. And this is what we're working to get back to. So because the false matrix supported deception, people could run around saying things and doing things and wearing masks, and people would be none the wiser. But what is happening is that that's no longer going to be possible. So I did a reading yesterday, or I shared some downloads yesterday where I spoke about that very specifically, about how there are certain beings whose secret animosity is no longer secret, because as you access your truth, as you stop lying to yourself, as you break the self-deception programs that have been placed in you by the false matrix, the external deceptive energies that seek to keep you blinded cannot do so anymore. And this is just an introduction to what is rolling forth on the earth again in general. There will come a day, and I don't know when it will be, but there will come a day when there will be no more ability for beings to lie to one another on the earth. This is also how and why telepathy is coming back on board through this too. Telepathy, heightened telepathy, also requires innocence and truth. Okay, so many will fall off your path at this time, and many more will join you on a new one if that's what you want. Okay, so this is alignment and temperance right now. Alignment and temperance. And the passage to the full moon in Sagittarius is intensifying all of this. Beings who want to venture where you have access must learn to fire dance efficiently, or the flames will consume them. Beings who want to venture where you have access must learn to fire dance efficiently, or the flames will consume them. Now, the flames that they're stepping into, that you are wielding now, right? They're there to consume their fears. In other words, when these beings enter into your caliber of frequency, the flames that you are already dancing in, because you have overcome the ability to be afraid of your own power and who you are, those flames that you dance in, that they're drawn to, are there to help them do the same thing. They're there to help them consume their own fears, their own perceived limitations about themselves, their prejudices, their judgments, and the stories and the programs that have tuned them into settings that cause their own self-destruction and disempowerment, right? So that's what the power of your flames are set to do, okay, for other beings. Now, many beings will be attracted and magnetized to the beauty of your flames. But if they're not ready and willing to give up their fears, give up their own perceived limitations around their abilities and who they are and what's possible, give up their own prejudices and judgments and programs and the stories that have tuned them into their own self-destruction and disempowerment. If they're not ready to give that up to the flames, then they're going to be consumed by them. Okay? So, so I'm going to finish up here. I'm going to read the rest of this. Some people, though, find comfort in the false stories. Okay, so some people like their deception, and that's fine. We're not here to judge them, but we are here to leave them alone, because people who like to live in self-deception oftentimes are highly codependent. So they like to live in self-deception, and they like to drag other beings into that deception too. And they will do whatever it takes to make sure that you have a role that supports them in their own self-deception so they don't see truth. This is what most abusive narratives are about. So for example, if you grew up in family abuse and you were the scapegoat, that was that dynamic playing out. Beings were so unwilling to break out of the self-deception that was harming themselves, the family as a group, and the individual that they were, projecting all their shit onto, that they needed to make a scapegoat. They needed to assign these really fucked up, faulty, energetic distribution systems in order not to take any accountability for their own wound and step into the truth and into the light. So there are beings who like being in self-deception, and you being around them, they will do everything they can energetically to manipulate you into a place where you accept that deception as part of your truth too. And when that happens, you're fucked, because then you open the door to karmic suffering because you're living against yourself and your truth. So some people find comfort in deception and false stories, and they like hearing them again and again. And they love hearing about how some big bad external force is after them or blocking them, stopping them or limiting them. They love to keep the story external. And here's the thing, many of us have dealt with external energies and are still dealing with external energies that seek to block, to stop, and to keep us from moving forward. But they are only a mirror and a reflection of a deeper internal story that we must overcome within self. And beings who aren't able to make that connection and rise into that truth are the ones who like their victims' stories. They like feeling as if they are helpless and that they have to constantly point the finger of blame because it makes them feel justified. And part of them also they're benefiting from the pain. And I say that with respect because I was that person too. And I can be that person again. I have to own it when I fall into victim consciousness, because there is something momentarily satisfying and comforting about not taking accountability for the fact that even if somebody else has hurt you, it's still your responsibility. It's still my responsibility to rise out of it. There's something that gives us a little bit of false comfort when we make it seem as if there's nothing we can do. Right? So there are some beings who are trapped in that consciousness. They're able to see what's happening to them externally, but they're not able to make the internal connection. So I think I'm actually, I think I'm going to stop there. I have a lot more. Maybe I'll just read the rest of this. Give me a second. Yeah, I think I'm going to end here. So, in other words, for as long as we're living in deception, self-deception, the deception programs of the matrix, we're producing more misery for ourselves and the earth. And there are some beings who will continue to create more misery for themselves, and they will try to drag you into this. And they will even use underestimating you or projecting underestimation towards you in order to make you doubt yourself, to pull you back into misery with them. But it ain't the fucking time. It's not the time anymore. Okay? And so that energy, it can't lie to you anymore because the mask and the distortions of the false matrix, they're no longer holding. Okay, so I'm going to say this last thing and then I'm going to close. You might also see this very strongly coming through masculine energy right now, whether it's the masculine energy within yourself other beings, or whether it's actually coming through men who biologically connect with, consider themselves to be masculine, more masculine in nature. And that is because the distorted masculine energies are dying very, very quickly right now, because of the true divine nature of masculinity is rising again through this Mars and Aries. And it's not just the masculine energy, the feminine and the masculine energy are rising together. Okay, so the distorted feminine energies are dying and the distorted masculine energies are dying, and their true divine counterparts, the divine masculine, divine feminine energies are rising now in truth. So as the distorted energies die, they sometimes will come in very loudly because they're dying. and so I've been focusing a lot on the masculine energy. I had a being try to come towards me and proposition me romantically, and act very very aggressive in his approach. And when I, finally responded to him, he said the right words, but I read energy, and he threw a bit of a hissy fit, right? In the sense that he said certain things, but then he also was very passive aggressive in his speech. And it was just like, I could see, I didn't even need him to do that, in all frankness, because I read energy. I don't care what people's words are. If your words don't match with what I'm sensing from you, I'm going with what I'm sensing from you. And the minute he tried to enter into my fields with his romantic endeavors, I knew that his inner child was deeply wounded, and he hadn't addressed that wounded energy. And he was trying to come and put his fangs and his claws into my divine mother energy to harness that for himself without doing the work. Okay, I have no problem with men who need to heal. There are many of them, who need to heal, and we're all here to help one another heal. But we can't heal things that we refuse to see. And beings who refuse to see certain things will come into your fields, and that's when energy harvesting happens, because they need to take your beautiful healing energy to feel better about themselves, instead of learning how to do that within self by healing themselves completely and properly. Okay, so I saw very distinctly how this false masculine energy that was actually masquerading itself as being divine in nature, it can't wear a mask anymore. So for many of us women who consider ourselves to be of the divine feminine energy, we've had this throughout ascension, but we've had this throughout our lives. We've had men come into our fields wanting to feed and feast off of our healing energy. And because they want it so badly, they will come and present themselves in every way that makes us feel like they're a match, in psychological terms. When speaking about narcissistic abuse, this is called love bombing. But love bombing doesn't only happen materially. It happens through words. It happens through, so many things it can occur. And a lot of the time they could carry out this energy for long periods of time. Some people built whole marriages off of this love bombing experience that still exists, and they still can't see the covert energies that are flowing through the union. But they're miserable as fuck, but they're still not attributing it to that, right? So, but now, because for those of you who have, reached that level of truth, when these energies try to slither into your reality and try to fake you out by pretending to be divine when they're not, the mask is ripped off immediately. And then most of the time they're going to, get in a strop, have a toddler meltdown, which is kind of what he did. Very passive aggressive, but the energy was very, I didn't get my own way kind of thing. And in all frankness, it was just an expression of what I already had seen from the minute he tried to enter into my fields. So take that as you may, but that fake veneer of masculine energy that was able to cling into spiritual circles now, it's fucking over. There will be no more harvesting off of divine feminine energy if you're not yourself rising into your divinity in truth. Okay, and with that, I'm going to close it out. I wish you guys a beautiful rest of your day. For all information on how to work with me, to book me for a tarot astrology reading or a divine alignment reading, or to do a soul recovery one-to-one session with me, you can find that information on my website, solarah.info. If you would like to join me over on Substack, where I am constantly commentating on the energies of now and how it works within the context of my own life. Also, I write there about 6 days a week. I will put the link in the description box and the comment section below. There are both free options where you have access every week to free articles, and then there's a paying option where you have a monthly subscription. You have access to everything plus the archives, as well as a monthly group Q&A with me that is coming up for the month of May on May the 19th. So that's my Substack. I have 2 other channels, Solarah Rises and Daily Alchemy with Solarah on YouTube also. So Solarah Rises, I go through every single full and new moon. I do the Tarot Astrology Ascension report over there. So I have one coming for you guys for the new moon in Taurus. And Daily Alchemy with Solarah, I selectively publish audio versions of what I write over on Substack. So recently I've just been releasing the weekend alchemy, because that's what I've been able to do right now. But from time to time, I might put out I might put it out on the dailies so that you can have a bit of a taste of what it is that I offer over there for my patrons. So my daily alchemy messages over there are both in text, and on most days I also will record it, so there's an audio message, okay, for those of you who prefer to hear things as opposed to read them. Alrighty, so I think that's it. Please stay tuned. I will be making an announcement about a very special event that I am opening up very specifically to the YouTube collective, my whole collective, but especially you guys, coming up this month. And I also will be posting very soon all the information for the small group sessions this month, the Tarot Astrology group Q&A, as well as the Road Back to Wholeness small group sessions. If you would like to donate to the channel and my growth, you can do so through my Ko-Fi and my PayPal. All of that information is in the description box and the comment section below, as well as on the screen right now. So I'm sending you guys so much love. I wish you joy, bliss, peace, stability, every beautiful thing under the sun that is your birthright, and when you are walking in your truth is automatically yours. So may you find the path back to that security and that stability. May you not only find your truth, may you cement yourself in it, may you walk in it, may you live in it, and may you produce from it. Okay? Ashe.